YouTube. You're watching BB's Vlogs and Adventures, and this is Brian. If you don't already know, I got coffee, and I did wait to take my first drink with everyone. So, I've got a story, and we're going to follow it today. There's going to be some driving, but it's an interesting story. We're going back to the 1800s and the outlaw time. So, bear with me. Let me get my thoughts correct. Take another sip of coffee. That one just didn't go through the veins as good, and I want to. Let's do it again. Yeah, that was good. Okay. I'm gonna get my thoughts together and get right back with y'all. Texas. This Lone Star State that I'll call home contains $340 million in hidden treasure, which is a higher sum than any other U.S. state. Among this treasure is the hidden loot of Sam Bass, an infamous outlaw who lived in the 1800s. The story of Bass and the treasure may still be out there waiting to be discovered. Sam Bass was born on a farm in 1851 in Indiana and was orphaned by the age of 13. Bass and his siblings went to live with their uncle and his 9 children, where they received no formal schooling. In 1869, Sam left and found work in Mississippi, where he learned how to shoot a pistol. The next year, Sam met a teamster named Scott Mays, and the two headed to Denton, Texas. It's about 30 miles from Dallas and Fort Worth. Sam began working for the sheriff as a farmhand and teamster, which acquainted him to the country trails and back roads that he would later use as a bandit. Sam saved up his money and bought a racehorse that allowed him to quit his job and focus on racing and gambling. After 1875, Sam never again had a permanent full-time work. Through patronizing saloons, Sam met Joel Collins in San Antonio, and the two men decided to run a herd of cattle up north. They wound up in Nebraska. They sold the herd and attempted, then failed at prospecting in the Black Hills. They decided to rob stagecoaches to offset their losses. Over the following few months, they held up 7 stagecoaches, but only fared small payoffs. So they decided to try their hand at robbing, hoping to score, what do you think, more money. 1877, at the Big Spring Station in Nebraska, a small group of bandits, including Sam Bass, forced the station master to halt an oncoming express train. The bandits boarded and used violence against anyone who tried to stop them. They uncovered $60,000 worth of freshly minted $20 gold coins from the San Francisco Mint. The men divided the gold up evenly or equally between themselves and left the scene in pairs, each pair traveling in a different direction. A few of the men were later killed. Sam and Jack Davis rode south in a horse buggy and made their way back to Denton. With the cash of $10,000 from the robbery, Sam began robbing trains again a few months later. It's speculated that he likely did not burn through his money so quickly, but rather he likely enjoyed the sport of thievery. Yet this fast turnaround led to future stories of Sam hiding his stash in various places in and around Texas while he went out and committed more robberies. Now, we'll get back to this a little bit later. In 1878, Sam Bass and his gang held up several more trains, which caused the people of North Texas to worry and call for action. The governor responded by calling in the Texas Rangers to find and capture the notorious bandits. For several months, there was movie-style chases with the bandits, narrowly escaping the Rangers' grasp. In April, there was a gunfire scuffle and Sam was struck in the cartridge belt and his rifle stopped, but he escaped without a scratch. made it down to Round Rock, just north of Austin. They had plans to rob a bank there as they were casing the bank and finalizing their course of action. They were recognized and a gunfight broke out. Sam and one of his gang members were able to flee on horseback. Sam was still found alive the next day, forced to stop due to his injuries. He had told his buddy continue to retreat without him. Sam was brought to a small shack for questioning, but he did not divulge any information about the members of his gang. He died on his 27th birthday, 2 days after he was shot, and just 8 years after he initially arrived in Texas. Sam Bass is buried in the Round Rock Cemetery, and his name is fairly well known to those who have taken an interest in Wild West outlaws. As for his alleged hidden loot, there are many theories as to where it might be hidden, though no one has ever confirmed, then or announced, a discovery of any gold tied to Bass. Some say Bass hid his cache of gold in East Mountain in Mineral Wells, while others think that the gold was hidden in a remote cave near Big Blue Spring for safekeep. During the bank robbery that was supposed to take place in Round Rock, other theories mention additional locations of the supposed treasure. But this one thing is certain: no one definitely knows if and where Sam Bass may have hidden his treasure. Now, I have additional notes that I want to provide. Whenever I provide these notes, I'm going to go find this road and I'm going to actually drive down it and give a video of it. North Richland Hills website. A brief history of the city was founded when W.S. Peters agreed to bring 600 families into the area within a 3-year period as a part of a land grant. Families began arriving in the summer of 1848. In 1849, Tarrant County was established and named for General Edward H. Tarrant. The community of Birdville was named the first county seat. The area remained a rural farming and ranching community for more than 100 years. So where I'm sitting now is right in between Richland Hills and North Richland Hills. So this was a farming area for over 100 years. Now here's a story too. Part of the story that goes with this. In 1952, Clarence Jones began to subdivide his 268-acre dairy farm into a suburban addition in the area that is now Cummings Drive. That is the road that we just drove down. In 1953, the North Richland Hills Civic League sought to have the area annexed to Richland Hills. As I said, I am sitting in between Richland Hills and North Richland Hills. When the Civic League sought to have the area annexed to Richland Hills and then voted to form its own city, when annexation was denied. An election was held and the 268 acres of the Joneses farm with a population of 500 became officially incorporated as the city of North Richland Hills. So, when I got over here, I thought that this was just kind of flat, the land, as far as everything went. But as I realized that I was kind of elevating a little bit more and elevating until I got over here to where I am now. If I go back towards 820, which is this way, then I would be going down what I call is the mountain that Sam Bass supposedly took 2 guys and shot them. Now my question is why did he shoot them here? Could any of these houses or anywhere around here be sitting on Sam Bass's stolen fortune? I don't know. But if I own one of these houses, I'd be digging me up a huge pool in the backyard. The first section of the streets in North Richland Hills was named for the local families. The second section was added in 1954, was named for automobiles. There were 188 homes in the first part of the subdivision, which was restricted to brick and masonry construction. While there ain't many ghost stories to come of this area, there is one located in the area of the city called Nob Hill. That makes one realize that Tarrant County and its environs really were the Wild West at one time. Rumors at this location are that people have reported seeing dark figures moving through the trees late at night at the top of the hill. People who live in the area also say they hear shouts, normally early in the mornings, before the sun comes up. It has also been reported that a local outlaw called Sam Bass took 2 men up to the top of the hill in 1870 and shot both of them in the head. This might be true since some folks living in the area have noted that they have seen men wearing old cowboy hats walking around by their fences. Apparently they are not real, but they are apparitions, since no one is there when they take a further look. What would you do if you actually found Sam Bass's treasure? Would you tell anybody? Anyways, it would mean the world to me if you guys could like, subscribe, share, comment down below, to this video. It's time for me to put the lights out on you guys. But don't let the booger man get you.